morning, everybody. Are you having a good time today?
Yeah.
All right, this is Barrett-Jackson. We're Shelby. That's not loud enough. Are you guys having a good time today?
Yeah.
Almost to the day. In 1965, Carrol Shelby rocked the world with the big block Cobra and the Shelby GT350, and you are part of history again today. Shelby is back and the GT350 has returned. We have some phenomenal things we're going to talk about because of the weather, because Tracy's become a Tracy-sicle. We are going to do the unveil of the R model here. We're going to take the cover off, and then we're going to mosey in, as Carol would say, inside, and everybody can grab something to eat, sit down, and we're going to do our formal presentations. But before we do, real quick, let me just show you the lineup here. We have, of course, Aaron Shelby, board member of Carrol Shelby International, Tracy Smith, International Director of Team Shelby, and Executive Vice President of Carrol Shelby International. We have Aaron Coalwell, am I saying that right?
Yep.
From Trans Am, all the way from Trans Am, just to talk to you about that big announcement. We have Rich Rinke with Turnkey Automotive and Motorsports, and they are going to make our Shelby cars, with Vince and Gary's help, even faster, right? Gary Patterson, the Director of Fun, and oh, by the way, the President of Shelby American. And Vince LaViolette, who has more titles than probably anybody in the organization. Vice President of Production, Chief Test Driver, Designer, and just all-around guy to get it done. Please welcome Vince. So as you know, in 1965, Carrol built 526 street cars, and he built 36 R models. The last R models that were produced in 2015 to 2020 were fabulous cars. I have one and love them, but the difference between the R model then and the street GT350 was not nearly as monumental as the difference here. And so with Rich's help, we are going to build some spectacular cars, which we'll talk about inside. But first, should we let him look at this car? Yeah, let's take the cover off. Let's go ahead. We're going to take the cover off, and then we'll roll inside for the formal presentations.
So what we'll do, guys, is we'll go over everything in detail inside, but when you get a chance, you really need to look at this car in detail outside, because it's got things like an entire carbon fiber tub inside instead of like carpeting. Okay, so this car is a bad boy from the ground up. Trans Am racing, it's got Trans Am spec brakes and so forth, suspension, you know, the aero from a Super Snake in this part, but Trans Am wing and stuff, so that we've been working very carefully with Aaron Coalwell right from the beginning, so when we show up next year, we know that the car we build will pass tech inspection and be ready to go. So with that, let's go on inside.
We're so excited that the Shelby GT350 has returned, and we're excited that you're here to be part of it. It's an exciting time to be with Shelby, established in 1962. Carrol was the only individual to win Le Mans as a driver, as a manufacturer, and as a team owner. And that heritage and history is continuing today. As I mentioned out there, on January 27, 1965, Carrol rocked the world with two fabulous cars that changed the course of automotive history. And then, by the way, a few months later, July 4th, Bob Bondurant and the rest of the team helped win the FIA World Championship. So we're excited about that. And today, Shelby is earning its stripes again. So we're excited about it, but you're probably tired of hearing me talk already about that. So I'm going to ask Gary Patterson, President of Shelby American, to come up and tell you about the fabulous new Shelby GT350. Let's welcome Gary.
Thanks, Scott. That car is just a rock star, right? And so we've really been at this for probably 2.5 years trying to come up with the right recipe for the GT350, and we really tried to listen to each and every one of you and looked at the really positive product attributes in the original GT350. And also, well, what do you really do? It's hard to believe that some of the comments were, you know, for those, how many of you have a GT350 from 2015 to 2020, right? Great car. How many have a 65? That's great, right? So the 65 was 306 horses. The 15 to 20 was 526 horses. And believe it or not, some of the feedback we got from people was, man, this thing is really cool. We love that it still has a manual transmission. You can get it, you know, an automatic if you want, but we need a little more power now because, you know, the competition has more. So we came out with 810 horses, right? So that's the GT350. The GT350R. You guys know the history of that, right? You know, won the races, won B Production National Championships, and that car was just totally iconic. We had Shelby GT in 2007 and 8. Privateers actually won F-Stock in SCCA racing. And when we looked at the 60th anniversary of the GT350, we thought, okay, if we bring out a GT350R, this thing really needs to stand out, it needs to stand tall, and it needs to be out there to win. And if with any good team, it's the team behind the scenes that makes it all happen. Who's a team member of the current Shelby team today? Okay, Rich, yes, you have, yeah, the guys over there. So some of the tie-in with this, we partnered with Rich Rinke from Turnkey Automotive. He's got a very rich history with Ford Motor Company. John Coletti, why don't you raise your hand there? Okay, anybody know John Coletti from the old SVT days? Okay, some of the highest performance cars in Ford's history, this guy was responsible for it. Anybody got a Ford GT from 2005-06? Right? Do we have anybody that designed that car? Where's Camilla? Oh, there he is. So see, who's who in the zoo right here? But when you're putting a team together, and that's what Carrol Shelby was really, really good at, was the team of people that he put together to get things done. Okay, so we partner with Rich Rinke, and he's got that kind of background with Ford Motor Company. He also just recently did all the Copo Camaro drag cars, right, in Detroit, Michigan, and the Camaro Trans Am car. And if you look at the quality, and if you look at the workmanship, these guys are second to none. I've spent a lot of time in Michigan, family first, but also really helping build the business of Shelby in Michigan. Edsel Ford asked me years ago, asked Carrol long before me, he's talked to Aaron about it too, let's get some operations in the Detroit area. So that's what we're doing. The 350s that you see out there that we just announced, they're going to be built just across from the Flat Rock Assembly Plant and completed there. The 350R is going to be built by Turnkey Automotive, those 36 cars. But when we looked at these guys and we looked at their pedigree and the background and stuff and the connection with Ford with John, John brought me over there and I looked around and I went, damn, this is where we need to be, right? The key to that operation is these guys, right? They've got a team of people as well. But let's look at some of the background too with father and son. Okay, there's some tie-in here to 1965. Ken Miles come to mind? Yeah, that guy. Okay, engineer, test driver, and one of the fastest team drivers we've ever had winning championships. Jack Rinke.
Yes, sir.
Engineer, NASA engineer, by the way.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Aerospace and test driver, runs Trans Am part-time, and usually when he does, he podiums. Okay, so once again, engineer, test driver, race driver. Okay, his father has won 7 national championships.
7 U.S. national records.
Oh, 7 U.S. national
And
records.
won a number of U.S. national events.
All right. So what I want to do is turn the mic over to Rich. Okay. Rich and Jack are behind the GT350 R program. This car has a tremendous amount of differences between the 350 and the 350R. and a lot of it's Trans Am inspired. And then we'll bring on Aaron Coalwell, who is the Chief Technical Advisor for Trans Am. So we're not going to, this isn't a publicity stunt, folks. Next year, we're developing this car right now. It's actually underway. We're involving Trans Am from the very start. So the car we show up with, we're not going to have any problem with technical inspections and things like that, because we're doing that homework right along the way right now. So Rich, why don't you tell these guys about the car?
Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the car, but I first have to start out with one, thanks for coming. You know, when I look into the audience, one of the great things I can see here is there's some deep history with Shelby, and there's some deep history with some relationships that have been developed. I will say that I'm going to back up where Gary was when he talked about my relationship with Ford. Here's an interesting fact. My family was a Ford dealership. My father was at that dealership in 1963, 64, and whatnot. My father actually sold 500 Ford cars in 1963 himself, working for his father. My family has always been involved in some level of racing, whether it's road rallies, road racing, drag racing, whatnot. I didn't have a choice. Jack had a few choices, but he chose this one. When I look over here, I see John Coletti, who we all have a great relationship in the direct relationship we have here. John, on many occasions, when the Cobras were built, advanced prototype vehicles, gave me a shot. I'm deeply indebted to this man. True performance individual, always open-minded, knew how to put the connections together. Through him, I got acquainted with Carrol Shelby, lifetime experience. I remember sitting in meetings on the Ford GT program. Carrol would fall asleep for a few minutes and he'd wake up talking about the same subject. I look out in the audience and I see Camelo Pardo. And this just gives you a little bit of background so I can support what Gary is saying. Camelo and I worked together on the Ford GT. The program was set up. John put us in a box and said, figure out how to do this. Lo and behold, for the first few prototypes were actually built in my shop on my property. Camilla and I were there at 11 o'clock at night while Ford executives were coming and working. The point of this is that we didn't care where we worked. We knew what the objective was. We got it done. Whether we had the tools or we didn't have the tools, creativity was always there. And we thought out of the box on everything that we did. When I think about what's happening right now, it's really crazy. I was just telling Gary about the puzzle pieces of the puzzle fit together quite well. And I've learned, being a person of faith, that when the puzzles work that well together, that because God's on our side. God is on our side. And so we have to do right in everything that we do. So when I think about this, thank God Ford Motor Company still builds the Mustang. They're the only manufacturer out there right now that currently builds a rear-wheel drive muscle car. And they've done an excellent job of that. But there are many venues that car can go to continue to be successful in many ways. Hopefully I continue to get behind it. In the long-lasting relationship with Shelby, I'm sure will endure and keep going. But there's also something else significant. Trans Am still exists from those days. That's crazy. It's incredible. That's a commitment. Tony Perella and the team that he has are still alive today. And then I think about Shelby. There's the only company in the world that can have these three things aligned for them like they are, because they've always had God on their side. So most recently I watched the Lost interview with Carrol Shelby. In the process of doing that, he said one thing very important when they asked him, Carrol, how do you want to be remembered? He says, I already done all that shit. He says, nobody has to remember that. I want my company to endure. And I can tell you from the time I met Aaron, and I've known Gary for a while, and Vince, this whole process, and we are the Shelby team. We maybe have Rinke Motorsports and whatnot, but we are already born together. Our blood is already mixing a long time ago. So we set out to do this project. I've never been involved in a project, and I've been involved in many. Vince, 4:30 in the morning at Shelby every day. This guy, 5 o'clock. We're transferring information, technical information, and I said, guys, remember, it's got to pass the, the acid test with Aaron and Trans Am. And as I always said, deal with sanctioned bodies. You want to be on their side, because believe me, they can make sure you go away real quick. So we built a spec level vehicle. It's an incredible car. I can give you a little detail on it right now. The aero package, Jack was a big part of developing. It has to be functional, it has to be correct, it has to pass the technical requirements of Trans Am. The braking system, is a GT4 level brake system. We work with Pro Systems, a good partner of ours. We've always had huge success. It has a brake system that is way beyond the capabilities of the car, but that's what you need for durability. In addition to that, we have a suspension system, which the customers will absolutely enjoy for their track day events on this car. Because it has full adjustability, they can set it for many different conditions. JRI is a shock manufacturer and strut manufacturer. We spent a lot of time doing testing, and I think Gary's looking forward to that, and so is Vince. But this car is going to give you feedback and is going to give you a relationship with the road like no other car. And one thing I've learned, and Jack has learned that feel, and I know Gary and Vince probably know now too, there's a formula for success, and all the pieces have to come together. It's not just horsepower. We have proven many, many, many times that we can take the same car, put more horsepower in it, and it will go slower. But we can take the same car and make every one of those elements come together, and it'll be faster than anything out there, and it'll last longer than anything. Trans Am has a spec. It's about 550 horsepower for this car or less. But when you get everything right, it's incredible. And I'll guarantee you, when people get in this car, and it's barely legal on the street, but it is, they get on the street, they're going to be amazed the feedback they're going to feel. They're going to feel something they've never felt before. And when they got on the track, they should have that same experience. So I'm looking forward to working again with Trans Am on another product line. I hope that the message gets out that Trans Am is well alive. I've had just an outstanding relationship with these people, and this is the place that we want to go with this car. And I hope Jack finds great success in doing that. I'll just ask Jack just a real couple quick questions. Jack, what do you think of the car?
Well, it was definitely a condensed timeline for us to get that car ready. But it's a truly amazing package. It's been proven out way before its conception with our previous race programs. We're really excited to get it in the hands of enthusiasts and get it out on track and see it perform and do everything that we said it will.
That's right. So thanks very much.
Okay, I'm going to leave you with this, and then we got some other VIPs that want to talk. So 8 years ago, we said, okay, Shelby American today is going to focus on the 4 Ps. People were first. If I look out in this crowd, I see a lot of good family members, people that have been with Shelby for 60 years or more, right? Some of these people are also fairly new with the group, but people and partnerships and relationships have always been the single biggest key at Shelby American. People first, pride. As you can tell right now, we're very proud of the products that we build today. And we keep upping our game and stepping it up just one more step further. Pride, performance. Anybody have any questions if performance isn't our business? Right? That's what Carrol used to always say. I'm Carrol Shelby, performance is my business. As you can see, we're continuing performance at Shelby American today. You only get those 3 if you come out with a good product, right? People, pride, performance, and product. We're here to talk about those latest products. Scott?
Thank you, Gary. So as Gary said, we've got a lot of exciting things going on right now, and we are very excited about our past and our history. And we talked about the R model, which is such a phenomenal car we're so excited about, but we're selling 526 street cars. So for those who don't end up with one of those 36 can get one. And so Vince, would you and Gary like to come up and talk a little bit about the street car, the Shelby GT350, the car that everybody can take and drive. I think you said not only on the track for fun, but I could drive it every day to work. Is that right?
That's it.
Please welcome Vince and Gary.
Hey guys. Yeah, we're so excited that the name is back home. I mean, that's what's really exciting. We wanted to come up with a car that was just a great everyday car, but in the way that the original 350 was built, you know, it was a performance car. You could take it to the track and have fun, and that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to give you something that, you know, if you want to do a little, you know, this or that to it, you know, there's room to do that, but yet we still want to give you the horsepower, we want to give you the nice interior, we want to give you the looks. You know, the aluminum rims, we have the nice ducktail spoiler in the back. You know, just some of the nice things that would really bring the car together and just give it, you know, just something a little bit more than, you know, what you would get from a factory car.
Yeah, Vince is right. So the 350R, the other thing that we were looking at is that you'll see that car out there, and it's white. All the 350Rs are going to be white. You can get it black, the way that one is, and a lot of the people that we talk to, especially the younger racers and stuff like Jack, he likes that, right? So we want to make sure that we're looking out the windshield, not just the rear view mirror. But we also know that a lot of our guys are very historical people, and they like, maybe they've got a 65 GT350, and they'd want a heritage looking one that's white with blue stripes sitting next to it. So we'll have a heritage option for that car too. So if you want white with guardsman blue stripes, that's an option. So we're looking at those kind of things as well. So, you know, just want you guys to know that. We'll be around afterward to talk much more detail, walk through the car and stuff like that.
So one of the things we always like to talk about is when you go to a Porsche event, there's no Porsche family members there. When you go to a Ferrari event, they don't have the Ferrari family show up. But the Shelby family is active in making sure that not only their grandfather's legacy continues, but the car company he founded and the charity he created continues. So we're very fortunate to have Aaron Shelby not only as a board member of Carrol Shelby International, he's the co-president of the Carrol Shelby Foundation, but most of all, he is a true blue enthusiast. He was actually in there looking at a couple of cars that he might like to drive. A couple of Shelbys that he said might actually fit him, though at his size, sometimes that's a little hard to find. So we're very lucky to have him actively involved. Aaron, would you like to please come up and say a few words? Let's welcome the Aaron Shelby.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Good morning, everybody. Happy to have you all here. Super excited to see what we were able to unveil today. You know, both these cars are fantastic. They've been a long time in the making. Rich and Jack, really appreciate what you guys have done in a short period of time to get this one physically put together. When I was up at your shop, I didn't doubt it, but I was like, this is a short time frame we've got. So congratulations to you for getting that done. It looks fantastic out there, and I encourage everybody to go out and take a look at it and look at all the details to that car. It's really phenomenal. We talk about history and we talk about what brought us to today. Everybody knows we've got the 60th anniversary of the GT350 this year. Coming up in a couple of weeks, I believe it was actually February 14th of 1965, Ken Miles drove the first GT350R to its first production win in B-Class, not far from where I live in Green Valley, Texas. So really, I think that just brings us forward and makes this introduction today very apropos to where we are and getting back to our racing heritage roots as well. You know, the Trans Am series started about 60 years ago, 1966. Shelby was engaged in that series as well. And we're really excited when this opportunity came up to build a car specifically for the Trans Am series today. So I want to have Aaron Coalwell with Trans Am come up, say a few words about that. And you've already heard about the car from Gary and Vince, and please, after we're done, go out and take a look at it. And welcome Aaron Coalwell. Got a good name too.
Yeah, so at Trans Am, we are really happy to have one of the original teams and manufacturers coming back into the series on the 60th anniversary. The first race was at Sebring. First race will be Sebring again next year. So we'll have the 60th anniversary 350 R racing at the 60th anniversary of Trans Am starting at Sebring. And we have such a heritage, and whether you know it or not, we often run with SVRA. So you see a lot of the vintage, you see a lot of GT350 original cars running. So we love the fact that you come to a speed tour event where Trans Am and SVRA are running, and you can see the whole breadth of and history of cars. And this is just so great that Shelby American is coming back in to Trans Am.
Thank you.
And so yes, Shelby built car won a championship in 1966 and I believe in 67, which included our good friend Mr. Titus. So We're very fortunate and have a great history in Trans Am. We're now going to amble outside for those of you who are have the fortitude, and we're going to take some photos. So this is an opportunity, and just so you know, that is Craig Jackson's 65 GT350 out there that was converted in the day by Shelby employees to our specs. So Aaron and Gary and Vince and the team are all going to be out there, Tracy, so we'll stage a few photos so that you can get some of the Shelby team members around, and then we'll give you an opportunity to ask Gary and Jack and Rich and everybody all kinds of questions. So on behalf of the Shelby organization, thank you for being here in the next chapter of Shelby history.